had discussions that range for 6, 7 players, and Boston's ownership has made it clear to us that they want to add and improve beyond what their roster was last year. Again, they're aware that the American League East is a very different dynamic in 26 than it was in 25, because there's a lot of clubs that are already better and improved, and they fully expect additions from many others in the division.
All right, we are back. It is Boston has entered the chat. Nesson Nation, thanks for hanging with us. You can see the man to the other side of our screen. Of course, it's a Merloni midweeks. I don't know what to call it anymore. But Lou Merloni joins us boots on the ground over at the Winter Meetings in Orlando, fresh off of hearing from 80s movie villain Scott Boras. He held court yesterday, Lou, as he always does at this thing, and everybody rallies around, as we've talked about, trying to just, get to the crux of what he's actually saying. Read between the lines. Get through the BS. What did you learn, especially as it comes to our guy, Alex Bregman?
Well, I do like the fact that at least you've got agents talking about how they're engaged and how they want to improve this team and they want to spend some money. You can go back 2 or 3 years ago, and there were some big free agents out there. And the reporters would come out and be like, I'm talking to agents. They're not willing to spend. They're just not. So at least we're getting that part of it. He holds a huge court because he has every single free agent, and every single market is interested in somebody, whether it's his top client to his bottom client. I do agree with him when he starts talking about the AL East. When this Red Sox team last year started winning, you said it's wide open, the American League. And now that had to do with injuries. A lot had to do with a guy like McClanahan getting hurt and Cole getting hurt early in the season and Alvarez being out the whole time in Houston. And just teams were beat up. Baltimore didn't do anything. This year, those guys are going to be healthy. And Baltimore seems like more players. Like the American League East is going to be an absolute beast.
Lou, I was watching you yesterday. You mentioned that the Red Sox need to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Can you explain what in terms of how they can be uncomfortable and what moves actually would make you think that they're being uncomfortable?
Well, for me, it's obviously they're very analytical, right? And you could look at a guy and look at a contract and say, what's this guy's worth in free agency? And you could say, well, we think 3 and 75, 25 a year. Well, if that's what you're going to hold on to, you're never going to get the player. So what's uncomfortable? Well, it's not 3 and 75. Maybe it's 5 and 140, 5 and 150. And the computer might sit there and say, well, that's not, being efficient. That's not being smart. That's not what the player is worth according to us. Well, in free agency, if you don't want to get uncomfortable, if you don't want to, nothing's reasonable. Everything is, balloon. Every contract is probably more than it should. That's getting uncomfortable. What's getting uncomfortable is trying to trade for Garrett Crochet and not wanting to give up that last player, and then overnight being like, okay, what am I doing? Like we got to get Garrett Crochet. We think this guy is an ace. Call up, the Chicago White Sox and include that player that makes you feel uncomfortable. That's what I'm talking about. Go that extra year or 2 in free agency. Put in that prospect that maybe you're having trouble giving up. Because right now you're trying to win. You've got this window right now of some good young players you can continue to build on.
Lou, to that point, we've spoken with you, Tom Caron, obviously, on the show here this week about how just something needs to happen in order for the floodgates to open. Well, you got a big move yesterday. Kyle Schwarber goes back to the Phillies. Now, from day one, we've been talking to you for weeks. You have felt Dave Dombrowski would not let him go. He'd wind up back with Philly.
That's right.
But 5 for 150, and there are reports the Orioles made an offer, the Reds made an offer, the Pirates made an offer. I haven't seen a report the Red Sox made an offer. So, for all the Schwarber, Alonso talk, and maybe Alonso's realistic, we hope he is, are you surprised Boston wasn't actually in on Schwarber, apparently anyway? Did they just, maybe is it they didn't want a lefty when it comes to the power bat?
I'm surprised they weren't in on him at all. They didn't even make an offer, but maybe this thing happened quicker than they thought. I don't know, but Schwarber did have the qualifying offer attached because you went over that trade, the tax last year. That was going to cost you a second round, a fifth round, and some international signing bonus money. Pete Alonso does not have the qualifying offer. He's a clean free agent, just like Alex Bregman. They've been talking about position versatility now for some time. Schwarber is a DH. I like Kyle Schwarber. I always felt like Alonso was the better fit, but when the Orioles offer Schwarber 5 and 150, it kind of makes you feel like the Alonso market is set. Like if you're the Orioles, wouldn't you just turn around and say, okay, we lost it on Schwarber, let's offer that to Alonso? So to me, if you want to, Kyle Schwarber, Pete Alonso, you got to play in that market.
Okay, let's get into Pete Alonso here because Adam asked this off the top as it pertained with Scott Boras and Bregman. I mean, Pete Alonso is a client of Scott Boras as well. So I guess you kind of answered there what the price might look like. But we hear reports that, Alonso had a Zoom with the Red Sox. It went well, and they're trying to schedule an in-person. It's like that second date, right? You got the first one. It was pretty cool. Let's schedule a sit-down here and talk more. Talk to me about everything you're hearing about Pete Alonso, the price, sort of the fit, how you kind of think this will play out with the Polar Bear and the Red Sox.
Yeah, they did. They met with a Zoom. I think they were trying to line up in person meeting last night. We had a Zoom last night too, as well, with Breslow. So there's somebody in that front office that's sick, trying to figure that one out. But it's got elite power. I mean, this is what you want. It's at Fenway Park. I had a very interesting conversation with some people that covered him in New York, and it's like he's a DH. And listen, I think when you ask for elite power that Pete Alonso has, you're giving some things up that I think the team is trying to covet, and that is defense, that is athleticism, that is base running, that's a lot of things, position versatility, and he can play first base, but he may be a DH. So it's a question. I've heard some people say, do you really think Blake Breslow's going to get a one-dimensional player and give him 5 years, 150? And when they started putting it that way, almost talked me out of it. But given who that guy is, I know he adds presence and he adds pop. But I don't know if Baltimore's really going to go that hard for him. It seems like the Mets didn't want to go more than 3 years for Pete Alonso. So it does open the door. See, unlike Schwarber, where it was a perfect fit, like he loved Philadelphia, Philly loved him. I don't know if Pete loves New York. You look at last offseason as far as what everything went and how it all the way down to the wire, only got a 1-year deal. There was no offer for an extension. It's sort of slow playing this thing right now. You wonder with the chaos that happened, that team spent so much money and didn't do anything last year. There's some rumblings that the clubhouse was a little bit of a mess. And this is where it might be different with Schwarber. Where I say, Schwarber will go back to Philly. This guy may just want out of New York. So New York's still in play, Baltimore's still in play, you're in play, and of course Boras will have a mystery team. So we'll see how this thing plays out.
Lou, I've always said, I think what happened in New York, they blame Pete Alonso for all their damn problems, and he's the least of their problems. And then obviously you get Soto in, so there's like a new face of the franchise. But what I see, and I'm sure we all see it, Alonso's always healthy. He's always productive, like he's consistently hitting moonshots. Come on to Boston. We'll appreciate you. And I think on this team, Lou, it's a better fit because you're not blaming him for all the world's problems. He can just come here and hit rockets over the monster, and we're all good. The team around him is better, I believe, here in Boston. I think he's underappreciated is what I'm saying.
Yeah, obviously, by the way they're treating him, I think in New York, you have, Soto and Alonso back-to-back. That's a tough back-to-back trying to get through as a pitching staff, right? So, but it doesn't seem to be happening, or at least they're sort of slow playing this thing. So it's hard to understand. It's funny. I did have somebody with the Mets tell me that, like, Pete, his power, he's like, do you have any idea? Like, yeah, Fenway Park is great, but that green monster, he's like, there's going to be a lot of 115 off the wall singles, like. Wow. And I started thinking about that. I'm like, this guy hits so many hard line drives to get out of many ballparks. Like, those are all singles with him because he's not fast. So it'll be interesting. I'm curious, like, if they happen to miss out on a guy like Alonso, what is that hitting profile? Do we get back to, let's get the 20 to 25 home run guy that's makes some contact? And from what I understand, a lot of people around this building think that kid Okamoto, the profile in Japan, is real. And the more I heard about that yesterday, the more I started liking that idea.
The thing I want to go back to here, especially in talking about Boras, is obviously Alex Bregman. And so many conversations, it just feels like, and I don't know if this is media spin, team spin from the media, whatever it is, it's Bregman and, right? Bregman and Alonso, Bregman and Marte, Bregman and you name it. And I don't know, maybe Bregman is this foregone conclusion. Pete Abraham of the Boston Globe had a report yesterday that it is clearly Boston's top priority to retain Alex Bregman. I'm curious what you're hearing there, because it feels like, at least from over here, Bregman's market's kind of drying up a little bit.
Yeah, you wonder what that market is. Again, the three teams you hear about all the times are the same teams you heard from last year, right? The Cubs and Detroit. Well, Detroit already offered him 6 and 171, and now they're still talking about trading Skubal. other than the money, why we want to go there? Like,
Right.
In a year from now, Scubo's gone, you get a whole bunch of prospects, but it ain't the same. Like, it's not a great ballpark to hit in for him. The White Sox, they went with Matt Shaw, the young kid. He kind of started hitting at the end, good defensively. Do the White Sox want to dive into a big contract? And that's where you start wondering with all of these infielders, all of these Sox are interested in. You wonder if it's to try to push Boris, try to push Bregman to get to where the Red Sox want to get in a contract, right? Yep. So I still want Bregman back here. I think there's people with the Red Sox that really want Bregman back. I do think there's people like last offseason, that aren't all in on Alex Bregman, and they may be for a certain price. So are they trying to create, rumors and stories out there in the league to try to get him at their price?
Lou, did you have a chance to catch up with manager Alex Cora, and does he have any involvement in some of the players the Red Sox could be signing or trading for?
Yeah, he's in those rooms. There are conversations. I think, this time of year, it's like the trade deadline. Like the manager will sit there, they'll throw a name on the board, and the manager will say, yep. Like I want good players. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I want 4 of these 8 guys we just put on the board. Now it's the GM's job to kind of go out there and try to get a guy or 2 and try to fit a team. So I think he is involved. I think ultimately it's going to be Craig Breslow's call. Like he's shown here in the last couple of years. But, you're a manager. You're in those rooms. You're talking about some of these players you like.
Lou, I got to ask you this, because I want to know, we always joke with you on this show about how you sift through all the bull jive that's going on and all the rumors, right? So yesterday I see, I hear names like Bo Bichette. I like that. Then I hear names like Corey Seager, and I'm like, what? So I guess my question to you is, how do you, now that you're there, now that you're in the belly of the beast, how do you deal with all the nonsense, and what do you take as nonsense and as, that's something that could really happen?
Yeah, I try to shower like 4 times a day. Because honestly, there's so much of it right now. And again, I go back to, I saw the Corey Seager thing last night, and I'm thinking, okay, why is this coming out? Like, this guy's 32 years old. He's got 6 years, $180 million, and he can't stay healthy. There's no interest there. Who are the Red Sox trying to shake up? Like, why is this rumor being out there? Is this trying to get Bregman's camp to kind of dive into something? Is this another trying to get another team to not ask for this one player because we have interest in Seager? Like, this is how the game is played. For every report that is out there, somebody quickly is like, I just talked to that team. There's nothing there. Like, it's just a game of negotiating through the media, in my opinion. I think there's teams that are like, hey, let's just push this to try to get this to happen on the other side. Again, this is a very tight front office that does not leak a lot of information. And if it's out there for a reason. So, sit back and kind of try to sift through it. Meanwhile, just try to, take a few showers here and there and get through it.
So I want your thoughts on a couple of things real quick, because I know we're short on time. There's a report the Red Sox are not in on Bo Bichette unless his market changes. And sort of along the same lines, Diamondbacks, Red Sox reportedly have had extensive conversations about Marte, but the holdup is D-backs want either Early or Tolley, and Boston is, at least at present, unwilling to give up either of those guys. So, wondering what your thoughts are on how aggressive the Red Sox should be with a Bo Bichette in terms of getting into that market and enticing him into leaving Toronto, but also, would you part with one of those maybe stud pitchers come down the line, Tolley, Early, to get a Marte here? Because if you're going to deal for a guy like that, it's going to hurt at least a little.
Yes.
Yeah, well, first on the Bichette one, I mean, he's the one guy that's probably like the more years than anybody, and that's probably where it gets uncomfortable, right? We're entering a new CBA. On the other side of that, you could have still 6-7 years left. You don't know what game you're playing. So I think that's one area where they're sort of like, maybe they want that market to come down a little bit in terms of years. As far as Marte goes, when you try to acquire the best second baseman all around in baseball, it is going to hurt. I'm not so sure the sticking point is the Early or Tolley thing. I think the sticking point may be more of another player that they may want, a guy like Meyer or someone else. So, I think you do. Listen, you can't build depth and then be afraid to trade everybody away. You can't just go after, Ketel Marte and say, you know what, we just saw Dobbins, we can get rid of him like a Richard Fitz. No, not when you get Ketel Marte. It's a different game. And you're going to have to give up early or Tolley, period, to even have a conversation with Arizona.
Jeez. I don't want either one of those guys to go, but I like Marte. I'm with Lou. He's a grown-up. He's been in the league. He's one of the best all-around second basemen. I get it.
I wonder about the locker room with him, but I got one more for you, Lou. Can you give me something big? Like maybe not even Red Sox related. Like, I don't know. Could Mike Trout be available? Like give me something crazy that could happen.
Is Schwarber going to the Dodgers, Lou?
Just something crazy that we're like, wow, that really happened at the winter meetings.
Man, I wish I could get something crazy like that. Schwarber would be the crazy one. You hear like stuff about Tatis and how they don't feel Tatis is going to be moved, right? That would have been crazy too. But I want old school. I remember like years ago, like Theo was just like, man, you come out of the winter meetings and you're like, Jesus, the Red Sox really tried to get this player, right? Alex Rodriguez.
Right.
You know, like maybe you hear about that like in the coming days coming out of this thing. But right now it's we're still kind of playing in these little waters here of Alonso, Bregman, Bichette. I think Schwarber's a long shot. I really don't see that happening. It kind of reminds me of the Vlad Guerrero thing of like, you know, you're overthinking it. Like, do we just keep this guy? I mean, you can't get rid of a guy like that.
So I shouldn't bring up Mike Trout anymore as a right-handed bat that the Red Sox could look at.
I'm sure the Angels would probably move Mike Trout. The question is, do you really want him when you look at it? He was once the greatest player in the world. But
yes.
Have you watched him
would
play?
be good headlines.
He gets hurt.
Him at Fenway Park?
He gets hurt. Hey, Lou, he gets hurt, and he's a loser. He doesn't want anything ever.
Yeah, Joe, you would love it because it would be great headlines. And in about month 2, you could sit there and say, well, he got hurt. What'd you expect? And then rip him for it.
Oh, I got both sides of the story. But you know what, though? They need a right-handed bat, and he's one of them.
No.
And you know what? I bet he's available.
No, those rumors. No way.
I got to look up the last time Trout was actually good.
Exactly.
I'm crazy. We need something to get us going in this thing.
Lou, I was out on him when he had a chance to leave there and go to Philly and win, and he's from there, and the money would have matched, and he still stayed out west. I said, he's done. He's a loser.
Yeah. I don't know if he's a loser, but he's definitely comfortable. That's the thing. And it's
let's bring in the guy who's
Angels,
hit 225 the last 2 years.
Yeah, he gets
How many
hurt.
home runs?
36.
Good, good.
Over the last 2 years.
Well, that's still good.
Bro, he's broke down more than the T. Get him out of here.
34 years old.
I'm in.
Hell no.
yeah. I'm out.
I'm out,
All right,
too.
time for, good. 37 a year through 2030.
No
All right,
shot.
take us out of here, Joe.
No shot.
Lou, thank you so much. Appreciate
You got it,
you,
boys.
man. Have a great ride home.